Hello and welcome back to the channel this week. This week's episode is all about the Fuji X-T50 and how you can optimize it for you. And I promised in my last video that I would try and go over some tips on how to save the battery, because with this new processor and the IBIS and the 40 megapixel sensor and all that, it eats more battery, which it was pretty bad with the X-T3, the X-T30, the older cameras now, that I was a little worried about this. So I found some methods to alleviate the problem to some extent. So we're going to go over some of those tips for this camera in this episode. Okay, let's look over some battery saving tips for the Fujifilm X-T50. And I gotta say, there's quite a few of them that you can do to alleviate, or I should say, help the battery problem. Because, to be honest with you, the battery problem is pretty extensive. So, the first thing we're gonna do is we're gonna go to Setup, and we're gonna go down to Power Management. Go into Power Management, and we're gonna set this to normal. Because you don't wanna set it in Boost, because Boost will eat up your battery. Second thing I do is I go to auto power off at 30 seconds. You see, you got a lot of leeway here, but I go to 30 seconds because I want the camera to shut off pretty quickly after I stop shooting. Okay, the next thing we're going to go to is the IS. Let's go into IS in the shooting settings. We're going to go to IS mode. It's on the third page, and I'm going to go to shooting only, because I only want the IBIS to go on when I am shooting, not in continuous where it's working all the time. The next thing I go to is brightness, screen setup. Let's go into screen setup. We're going to go to LCD brightness and EVF brightness. Now what I have mine set for is auto 0. Because I don't want the camera to be any brighter. Some people will set it in manual, but I don't like that. I like it so that the brightness changes with the scene. The LCD brightness, I also have this set at 0. Image display, big one here. Turn it off. You don't need to see the picture instantly. Also in screen setup, this is a big one here. We're going to go to View Mode Setting. It's on the front page, the first page. Changing the button that's next to the eyepiece for my View Mode setting. I just want to leave it in Eye Sensor, and that's it. I don't want to touch it because I want to change it to something else, and I'm going to show you a little later what I changed that to. Go into View Mode Setting, into Shooting, and the top one is Eye Sensor. Leave it there. Okay, the next one is a big one. We want to minimize the touch screen because honestly, it uses a lot of power. So we want to go into button dial setting and go to the last page. All right, let's go down to the last page. And you'll see touch screen setting here. So we go into touch screen setting and I turn it off. Touch screen setting is off. Now, I never leave it on because I never touch the screen. There's all sorts of things that you can do with touching the screen. It's like adding another button on here. But honestly, I see no use in it. Another really power-hungry thing is the difference between mechanical shutter and electronic shutter. The electronic shutter uses way more power. Don't use it unless you absolutely have to. And then go in and specifically use it. Turn off boost mode. You don't need it. When you need it, turn it on. Okay, here's a giant one. Bluetooth. It's automatically on unless you turn it off. Now, the best way that I find, you can set this, like for instance, you can set up your top button up here. If you use your Bluetooth a lot to send pictures to your phone, then you could set up your button up here to do that for you. So when I want to turn Bluetooth on and off, I just hold, long press the display back button, and up comes Bluetooth, and I just go down and turn it on, or in my case, turn it off. Now, I gotta say, It's a great way to transfer images to your phone, but the problem is it sucks a lot of battery power. It's just like your phone. If you leave Bluetooth on in your phone or your iPad, it's going to suck the battery down. So that's it for the battery saving tips. So the next thing we want to do is we want to show more things here. We're going to go to button dial setting and go down to function setting. And you can see that these are set up so that you can add different things to it. Now, what I've done here is these are what work for me, okay? Now, I've got this one, the top one here, set to digital teleconverter because I like to use this camera like it was a X100 V or 6 or whatever you want to call it. I'll put the 2314 on here, excuse me, the 23 f2 on here. And when I want it to be like a 35 millimeter lens, I'll then hit the teleconverter, the 1.4 teleconverter, and it'll give me that. So I use this top button to do that for me. Now the next one down here is I told you about this a little bit earlier. The next button down here is the function number 2 button, and it's the button that's next to your viewfinder, your EVF, and I have that set to my electronic level switch. Okay, now the next one down is these are all, I've got these turned off. All these ones on the screen, I've got them turned off. So the next button up is something I alluded to, the AEL button. I never use auto exposure lock, so I changed that to my playback button. See, the playback button. And it makes sense to me because I can just reach up with my thumb and press it. The next one we're going to look at is the custom dial setting. And for the front button and wheel, this is the order that I've got it set up in. I've got it set up for f-stop, then I've got it for exposure compensation, ISO, then film sim. I'll get to that later. The back button, I've got it set up, this back button, I've got the back wheel command dial set up to do shutter speed, but also for manual focus check. And you can see here the rear dial, you push it in and you get focus check. Okay, one of the other ones here is AF on. I just leave that to autofocus on. And of course the Q button, you can set it up for anything, but I leave it at the Q menu. Is I've set the top film dial, this film sim dial, to C so that I can adjust it with my front wheel. There we have it now set to the film simulations, so I can change the film sims by how I change my front wheel. So let's go in and save some custom functions here for a custom profile. The cool thing is that you can then copy that to another custom profile and then adjust it a little bit further for doing different things. That's what's really cool about these new cameras, especially like the X-T4, X-T5, X-T50 here. My X-T3 and my X-T30 didn't do that, but these newer cameras do, and it's a really cool feature. So let's go through some of that right now. Go to press my menu back, and I'm going to go into Edit, Save, Custom Setting. And I have this one set up for everything, which for me is kind of like a catch-all. It's I like my profile set up kind of the same, and I'll show you that right now. So we're going to go into Edit, Check, and as you can see here on this menu, there's a copy feature, which is really cool, and there's an erase feature, which is also really cool. So if you didn't like a particular recipe that you were using, or you didn't like some of the settings, you can just erase it and start over again. So with this, I'm going to go into Edit, Check, and we're going to look and see what I have this particular thing set up for right here. So this is all pretty normal here. Let's say I want to go in here and I want to change this setting here, Color Chrome FX Blue. Let's say I want to change that to weak. So I'm using my the joystick here, So I'm going to press down on that. And as you can see, there's a little red dot that shows up. And I'm going to press my Q menu. As you can see down here at the bottom, it says Q save. So that will save that if I wanted to do that. Now, if I want to go back, I just hit the display back button and I'm back to this. Now, let's say I want to copy this and I want to copy it to another one of these. Let's say I want to delete my Fuji X Weekly McCurry's KR64 recipe. Let's say I want to go in here and I want to copy it to here. So now it's going to look exactly the same. All I got to do is I go in here and edit the custom name and do something else. Let's say I want to call it KW. Let's see. Let's say I want to call this KW KR64. So we'll go in here and we'll change the name to KR64. Go up here to set. So now it's exactly the same as what I have with KRW everything, but I can go up here to edit check, and I can adjust this so it has some other things. So let's say I want to go up here to, let's see, where's my white balance? Wrong way. White balance. Let's say I want to warm this up a little bit. So I'm going to go to, like, let's say blue. I'm going to go -3. Okay, so it's set to auto white balance, but I've adjusted the color a little bit, so I'm going to hit my Q button for save, and I'm done. Now I can just back out, and now I've got KR64 and KW everything are now basically the same, except for a little bit of warming up going on. So I hope that I've helped you out with saving some battery power, setting up your custom functions, and setting up the buttons on the back so that you can make it more your camera, so that when somebody else picks up your camera, they're going to be completely lost. And if you wouldn't mind, please subscribe to the channel, like and comment. That would be great. And maybe even share the video. That would be great as well. So that's it for this week. And remember, it's not what you photograph, it's how you photograph it. And we'll catch you next time.